Good evening, good evening, good evening. We are so glad that you have tuned in with us today on Nothing But the Raw Truth broadcast. I am your host, Dr. Bruce Smith, and we are so glad to be here with you today. I have in the studio with me elder, brother, friend, Robert Mileage, and we're here to talk about a subject today that uh, it is important, not just to me, but to all of us. And we're going to talk about today coping in the world in which we live. And I want to say today, because today, coping with this world today is different from the way it was, I say, 20, 30 years ago. There was a time when you didn't have to worry about too much walking the streets at night alone or leaving your doors unlocked. But in this world today that we live in, we can't do those things. We even look at as we look at the political scene. It's totally different today, in which it was 20, 30 years ago. But we're going to have a discussion uh, about coping in the world today. When I think about coping, it means being able to make it and survive and thrive in society in which we live. And I'm going to allow Mr. Mileage to come forth and give him a little introduction and let him go ahead and start us out if he wants to.
Well, good evening, Dr. Bruce, and to all of our friends all across the world. Let me just give you a little. I like dictionary.com, and it says to face and deal with responsibilities, problems, or difficulties. And I like this part here, especially successfully in a calm or adequate manner, especially successfully or in a calm and adequate manner. And I know when we think of the word cope, overall we think about struggling and you know uh, some of the things that putting up with and all of that. But I think that I love this definition: face and deal with responsibilities, problems, or difficulties, especially successfully or in a calm and adequate manner.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. I am looking at situations, and when I think about the situations that we face today, uh, are we in a little more dangerous society than we were 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
We 20, 30 years ago, we didn't have to uh, worry about concealed carry permits. We didn't have to worry about uh, getting mugged as much as you do today. Didn't have to worry about our cars getting carjacked. We didn't have to worry about uh, not as bad to the point it is today. We have to worry about homes getting broke in as bad. We didn't have to worry about just so many things that uh, this world has turned into, and it's even on the job you find that uh, things the way they are today. Um, we look at it, and there is no jobs that you have for 20, 30 years as it used to be. It seems like if you're on a job more than 5 years, uh, people ask, "What's wrong?
Right.
Are you not employable? You don't want to move forward,
Right.
or things like that." So it's when we look at society as a whole, we look at so many of our. I'm not even gonna say young people, but so many of our people. We you don't see people today going to school like they used to. Uh, you look at some of the jobs today, and they downgrading what they require a person to have as far as education and their abilities because uh, times have changed, society has changed. You look at just the things that are in front of us now. Our phones. Our phones have revolutionized our world. We walk around with a computer in our hands all day.
Right.
We don't. In today's society, we don't communicate with one another like we used to. We instead of calling one another, we find ourselves we'll text one another. And when you look at these things and examine ourselves, we find ourselves not communicating. We not don't have the social skills that we used to have as a society. We find ourselves uh, uh, preferring. You could be sitting next to somebody, and it's almost like they'd rather text you than talk to you. You go, you see people out to dinner, out at lunch, and instead of them communicating with one another, you find them uh, texting other people. They sitting with, say, I'm sitting with you, but I'm texting somebody else instead of us communicating. So we're looking at in our society today, it is so much different. It is a society that we just don't connect. We don't strive to be on the same page with one another like we used to.
Can I jump in there? We've lost, and you just hit it on the head. We've lost the art of conversation.
Right.
I'm amazed. I was kind of locked into when I was working at Bosch, and I didn't realize how isolated the outside world really was. And um, the art of just, I was shocked when people says it's hard to meet people, the old fashioned way.
Right.
Like if you saw we weren't married and you saw a young lady.
No, we're not married.
No, no. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
I get it. I had to do that one.
Right. I owe you. But the art of even communicating with a young lady,
right,
is lost.
Right.
And that's why it doesn't matter what entity it is.
Right.
Corporate America, education system, you name it.
Right.
One of the number one issues,
right,
is communication.
Exactly.
It really is. It's there's a lot I think contribute to that. Especially you brought up the technology of a phone. You don't sit and text a whole message like you writing a letter.
No,
you LOL, laugh out loud, and what is happening is linguistics are saying that is robbing many of us, and it's particularly in the African American community, the ability to hold a conversation.
Exactly.
They brought it out. The $1 billion corporation, McDonald's. I'm loving it. Okay. And loving in the commercial is LOVIN.
Right.
But if you're taking a standard test in school, you don't drop the G. It's LOVING.
Right.
Okay. But here's a $1 billion corporation dropping the G.
Right.
And then you do this in school, and you're wrong all day.
You're correct. You are correct. And you look at everything that's going on today, and we find ourselves we're really in a fix. When you look at it and think about coping in society like it is today, in the situations that we face on not just you look at you don't even see people. It's so many. I ain't gonna say you don't see people, but you find people trying to get a date on an app,
right?
Instead of communicating with somebody.
Exactly.
They put a profile online, and instead of talking to somebody, you don't know what you're getting. You just know what somebody wrote.
You really don't. Let me quote this, and I love this by Benjamin Franklin. He says, "Tell me, and I forget.
Mm-hmm.
Teach me, I might remember.
Right.
Involve me, and I learn.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, I might forget." Because you can tell a person something, but because what you're saying, so much distraction
Right.
is going on, that person's going to forget.
True.
It said, teach me, I might remember.
Right.
And you ever work in a job that there are people so good at what they do, but they can't teach you that.
A lot of people like that.
They don't know. They'll tell you how to do the job, but they don't know how to teach you how to do the job.
Right.
Same scenario. I says, you got a lot of great preachers, but they don't know how to minister.
Exactly.
And preaching and ministry is two different things, but you can have the same.
Right.
You know, and it's once again, it's the art of communicating. Then he says, involve me. Here's the thing.
Right.
Involve me.
Mm-hmm.
And I learn.
But a lot of times when you even try to involve people into a situation now, they've gotten themselves so geared to where they don't listen.
Right.
Because the only way they will pay attention to what you're saying is in an email or text. Now, even on the job, you find now on the job, instead of them calling people, they text them or they send an email.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
You ever meet somebody say, "Man, I was thinking about you yesterday."
Right.
You couldn't have. You didn't call me.
Right.
You didn't text me.
Right.
You didn't email me.
Right.
So in this society, you have to make people conscious of, no, I have a cousin.
Right.
Okay. And he has a hearing problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't look for a phone call from him.
Right.
Okay. But now you got Marco Polo and other face-to-face interaction.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even do that.
Right. Some people are uncomfortable with communicating with others. I find that not just on the job, but in so many things that we do. I find that people are uncomfortable trying to communicate with people because they have disconnected for so long.
Right.
We've had such a disconnect with our phones and with our computers and everything, and these different apps for this, apps for that. Instead of interacting with one another, you find our social skills have diminished to a point to where we are out there and we don't know how to communicate. We don't know what to say, when to say it, or how to say it. Right. So we're looking at situations in our lives that even in the church, right, you're finding the same thing. Most people, and I'm guilty. Most people don't use their Bible. They use an iPad or iPhone. Right. And for some people, they need to read that Bible. But I read mine on my iPad normally, and I'm okay with reading it that way because I'm more comfortable with it that way. Because then everywhere I go, I got that with me. Right. Some people like to have that paper.
I'm one of those
in front of them.
Right. I'm one of those people.
And they feel more comfortable with it that way.
Right.
But for me, I'm happy with my iPad. And if I wanted to look like paper, I can make my book look like paper.
Well, now for me, for instance, it's like you hear me talk a lot about. I went to Barnes and Noble.
Right.
Okay. I love the feel of a book.
Okay.
Okay.
Because you're old school.
Right.
Yeah.
I love books. Okay.
Right.
when I look at if I have an ebook, I can't really see the cover of the book like I would if it was sitting on the shelf.
How long do you look at that cover?
It depends. In communicating, I have, depending on what I'm talking about, I've had 2 or 3 more books because I'm looking for a common ground.
Right.
So I might take a piece from here, a piece from there, a piece from there, because I want to implement that in my conversation, or I want to personalize it. I agree with the author.
Right.
Okay. So when I sit them there, I have a rhythm going of thinking. Am I making sense? And so I can't do that. Let me say it like this: I don't know how to do that.
Right.
With a telephone. Remember, I showed you some pictures and books I had on my table.
Right.
And that was, and no matter what the subject was, I got books to cover it.
Right.
But I like to visually see the title, and that gives me a foundation.
Right.
Okay. I still love to pick up. I love the smell of a new book. Give me a hardcover, and that's first question: is that hardcover?
Right.
And I just love books. I love to go, and you know what? I saw an article on libraries. They're making a comeback because libraries gave us community, the readers, people that's still old school. We found something in common. We love books,
Right.
and it gave us a place to meet, a place to talk, and Barnes and Nobles. I mean, I just love Barnes. I'll drive from West Memphis to Germantown just to have a reason to go in, and buy nothing from Starbucks. Okay?
Yeah.
They got Starbucks in it, right?
Right.
I don't even buy nothing from Starbucks. I walk in there just to look at books.
Because you are a type of person that the best way for you to cope with some things is you need to be able to read it.
Right.
You can't transition, as I say, to the way things are progressing in the world. You're not one that can get into the iPads, iPhones,
right,
and read your books on the tablet. Me, time is money to me. Okay. So it's better for me. I function better if I got it electronic.
Right.
Like I bought this book here lately. It says "Articulate While Black," and that's a Barack Obama book.
And where'd you get that idea from?
From Barack Obama. It's his book. So we want to understand.
Wait, hold on.
We want to give him the credit.
Wait a minute.
It's his book.
I believe I told you about
you mentioned the book.
No, I didn't mention it.
But it's his book.
Excuse us, ladies and gentlemen.
You don't get the credit for his book. Okay. You ain't wrote one page in Barack Obama's
I wrote my name in his book because it's my book.
Your book.
I told you about it.
My ebook.
But let me say this though. How do you cope? And sometimes you have to. It's unfortunate.
Right.
Sometimes you have to let indifference.
Right.
Be your body armor.
Right.
Until it affects you personally.
Mm-hmm.
The quote that says, Lord, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change.
Right.
Change the things that I can.
Right.
The wisdom and the knowledge to know the difference between the two.
Right.
And so that, first time I heard that, I don't know how old I was, I'm like, wow. Because once again, I dealt with insecurity. Okay. And so,
how do you cope with insecurity in society the way it is today?
I find a good book.
So a book helps you to deal with insecurity.
Yeah.
In what way?
Because for instance, like one book I can't think of the author, The Power of Curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now I can identify with somebody that's just as curious as me. Okay, and I'm talking about in a complete book on the subject.
Right.
Okay. Whereas the average person, you talk about time. Okay. The art of conversation, it goes like this: Some people talk to you because they got time.
Right.
Some people take time to talk to you.
Right.
And when people, let's say business people are very influential people.
Right.
Take the time to talk to you. Those are conversations, moments that you have to. Those are Kodak moments.
Right.
Okay, because there is something about you that they want to pour into you.
Okay.
They want to help you if they see that you're trying to do something positive. You know, that's why I believe we have philanthropists, you know, that want to help. You know, I'm not going to come out here and grab you by the hand.
Right.
But if you take a step forward, I can reach out to you and help you along the way. I can help develop you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And they say your success is my success.
Okay.
Okay? Because we can all sit and complain and whine and be truthful about what we see. Right? Our role and our goal is to try to solve the problem.
Okay.
Not compound it.
Okay.
By continually repeating what we already know.
When you say a problem, what do you mean? Where are you coming from with that?
The question that was asked: how do you cope in this world of corruption?
Okay.
Politics. You named them in the reason why we're having this conversation.
So you say in the book? I'm not just joking.
It might start with a book.
I had to do that. Yeah. But and I understand what you're saying, but everybody's not there. You know, some of us more what I call progressive people.
Right.
That, because me, if I got a book in my hand, I like books. They're okay. But I'm more of a tech person.
Right. Yeah.
And they feel that book don't do nothing for me.
Right. Yeah. Right. I get what you're saying.
I can get a tablet in my hand. I can get a iPhone in my hand because you know I'm an iPhone freak. I'm a Apple freak.
Okay.
But that is.
Let me say this.
That helps me to cope.
Right.
Being on the tech side helps me because I like everything, and then I can disconnect with a lot of things that's out here.
Right.
By throwing myself in the tech world.
Yeah.
By learning.
You got an escape.
Right. That's my escape.
Right.
Everybody has an escape.
Right. Everybody has an escape.
Yours is books.
Mine's
is tech.
Right.
Somebody else's may be something else.
Right.
Because when you look on our jobs and we look at how there's so many people getting killed on the streets, you have to have an outlet. You have to, and you have to have a way of keeping yourself and your family safe.
Right.
Because it's not easy to cope when you don't know even if you go into the store. I don't want to mention store names and nothing like that because I don't want nobody getting crazy on it. But you know, you can go into certain places and you don't know what's going to happen. Right. So now you got this craze going on in the world where everybody has a concealed carry permit. Right. And which I don't have a problem with that. But when I look back 30 years ago, it was no need for that. Right. But today is a different, coping in today's society is different with the carjackings and all these other things. You know, the fun side is to reading the books. The fun side is me getting in there and learn tech stuff. Right. But the downside to being in this society that we live in today, it is so much crime going on, so much killing going on. So it's just so many things that I prefer not to if I didn't have to deal with. But I can't keep my head in the ground. Right. I have to learn how to deal with it. Things on the job has changed. Coping with situations at work and everywhere else has changed. So it is, and the fun part would be just to read a book
But no,
for your relaxation or for your
let me say this,
escape.
and I'm quite sure we agree on this. I have no doubt about it because we discussed it before. I can appreciate, as corny as it may sound,
Mm-hmm.
watching the sunrise
Right.
over a particular setting. Okay, and I'm like, wow. Or like if I'm driving on interstate.
So is that something that what kind of relaxes you? Or?
Oh yeah. Oh,
Okay.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things that can help you to cope with situations.
Oh yeah. I'll never forget one night, and me and my wife we were just out, and the flyover in Memphis,
Right.
and the moon was full.
Was it?
And man, it looked just like a postcard.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Now, everybody view things differently.
Right.
But I was like, boy, if I was a photographer,
mm-hmm.
this would be a great shot. So another way that I cope is I appreciate the value of nature or architect.
Okay.
When I see a beautiful
architecture,
yeah. When I see a beautiful building,
right.
The lighting's around, I'm like, wow. Watching the city, being in that twilight zone where you watch the city as the evening.
Oh, and the lights come on.
And the lights come on.
So that's your way of soothing,
right?
And unwinding and dealing with everything that you have to face.
Right.
Basically during the day.
Right.
So because when you look at the night, coping in the day is easier than coping with night.
Right.
Even the bark of a dog sounds different at night than it does
totally
in the day.
different at night. It really is.
The bark of a dog at night sometimes sounds eerie. In the daytime, you don't even think twice of it.
Right.
How a cat makes noise at night sounds different than it does in the daytime. Right. It's so many things that we have to look at coping with. I hate to say it, but sometimes our worst fears come at night.
Right, of course.
The fear of somebody breaking in your home, the fear of if you got a business, somebody breaking in and taking things on your job or at your company that you may have.
Right.
It's so many things that we have to look at today and how to cope with it so we can make it and be successful in this life. Because we live in a mean and cruel world today, and I don't foresee anything going in a better direction. We want to. You may want it to,
right?
But it actually happening. I just don't know.
Well, I don't know who coined the phrase. The quality of a man's life depends on the quality of his thoughts.
Right.
And that the Thinking Man podcast with Birds Out as a Man Thinker.
Would that through BVS?
Yeah.
Woo! Okay.
Yeah. This is BVS broadcast station, and I'm Robin Miley from the Thinking Man's podcast.
Okay.
Along with my big brother and producer, Dr. Bruce Smith from the Raw Truth. You like you said, you can't live in a cave.
Right.
Fear will have you paralyzed.
Right.
You got to know where you are.
Right.
When you need to be there.
Mm-hmm.
When you don't need to be there.
Right.
Am I making sense? So
exactly.
You got to know how to move in and out, and still be alert.
Right.
You can't go lollygagging.
Right.
We live in
a different society.
A very, very different society. It's you can't allow that to happen. You can't.
You said something that was so true when you talk about lollygagging. You can't. Wisdom wouldn't say, "I'm going to Walmart at midnight."
No.
I'm going in. I'm going to park in this parking lot, whether it's Walmart or any other place, at midnight. Some things you need to not do
Right.
like we used to do.
Right. You can't do that anymore.
As late as we used to do.
Right. We can't do that.
You just can't do it. Not to be safe.
Let me ask you this: when is the last time? And I know you shop online quite a bit.
Right.
Right.
Love
when
it.
was the last time you've been to the mall?
Not too long ago. I go to the mall.
Right. But the mall ain't what it used to be.
No.
As people, you see a lot of young people, but as people that got older now,
right?
They don't frequent the mall as they used to.
Well, you have to look at every, and I call it season. There's something different,
right?
Because before the mall, we didn't have the malls.
Right.
We went to little corner stores, and all this other
right,
stuff.
Yeah.
They had a single store here, a single store there.
Right.
Then they got into the mall thing, and then now it's online thing, and the malls are dying out.
But but the thing that I remember, and still value about the mall, it was a family event.
Right.
Oh man, we're going to the mall. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And,
yeah. You're right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Oh, we're going to the mall. We're going to the mall. Because the mall got everything, right?
Right.
I mean, you got the movies there. You got the trampolines and stuff for the children.
You just walk around just to look at it.
Yeah, the food courts.
Right.
And I mean, man, come on, the stores. And,
right.
Oh, my goodness.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was a city.
Hey, now I even buy my tires online on my car.
I know.
Because you can buy them cheaper.
Yeah.
I buy parts.
I get that.
I buy parts for my car online because I can buy them cheaper.
Right, I got it.
That's how I cope. I ain't got to deal with that crowd. But I can save me some money.
Yeah, I love the mall, man.
I understand. You old school.
Yeah. I mean,
old school folks don't love that.
Yeah,
they don't want change.
No, why?
Because you don't like change.
What I'm saying is, I love what you call it, the brick and mortar.
Yeah.
Because think about it. Malls you saw design.
Right.
I'm talking about the architect in mall.
I can design what I want on my tablet.
See, you ain't right, man. See, that's what's changing the world now.
Hey, the world has always been changing.
Okay.
There was a time you had to walk. Then they got a bicycle. Then they got a car.
See, you going unnecessary.
That's coping.
Well, this is BVS Broadcasting. But but it's just. But you say how do you cope? And one definition said responsible.
Mm-hmm.
And when I remember learning the definition of crisis. Okay, and a crisis, according to one writer, said it's not necessarily a signal for doom, but an opportunity for change.
Right. Yeah, change is inevitable. Change is always going to come.
Right.
But will you embrace it? Some change is good, some is not so good.
Right.
Some things you can't help but to change. Just like, some folks didn't want to change from a flip phone to a smartphone.
Right.
And it's getting so now you cannot even use a flip phone. It's just getting that bad. Right. But then you got those diehard, what I call old school folks like you. They which how you transitioned, I don't know, because you are old school.
Well, I have friends like you. That makes a difference.
But
I have friends like you with favor. But no, you know what? It takes for instance, I'm old school movie.
Right.
I love the theater.
Right.
I love the experience of driving to the theater.
Right.
Smelling the fresh popcorn. No, first of all, getting the ticket.
That's a thrill to you.
Yeah, man.
Spending your money.
And then
on that high ticket.
And then wait a minute, they used to pop the popcorn. Now they already popped in the bag and just put it in the machine.
Really?
Yeah, man, that's sad. They used to pop the popcorn.
So the popcorn ain't pop. It's pop when you get there.
It's already popped. And they just poured in the deal there.
Really?
No, yeah, I couldn't believe that.
Well.
Right? I couldn't believe that. I'm like, really? And
I eat my wife's popcorn.
And speaking of change, I know I'm going well, but just remember the subject. I don't need to remember. I'm gonna say this about change. Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
Right.
Right. I love the one that had Raymond Burr in when he comes out of the water and just destroys Tokyo. I'm not with all these other versions, the little fairy singing and go get him and all of that.
Right.
But I still love Godzilla. Now, we used to have the old school talks. If King Kong and Godzilla got to fighting, who do you think would win? Godzilla. He's the king of the monsters. He's 400 some odd foot tall. Now, in the last King Kong, they want to make him 400 some odd foot tall so they can have a fight.
Well,
I think that, no. Godzilla is busy enough with Mothra and the three-headed flame shooting.
I don't have a clue what you talking about. I tell you
what. And now, and even with the stunt actors, most things is CGI now. And you be like, they don't need stunt men hardly no more, do they?
Well,
I mean,
things are changing.
But man, it's sad though.
No.
Yes, it is, man.
You just engrossed in things that stay the same.
Yeah, am I?
Yeah. We gotta realize society is changing. Some for the good, some for the bad. Okay. Why should it take me twice as long to read a book out of a book or read it on my tablet? It's easy. To me, I can read it a lot faster on my tablet.
Why you said that's just a mental thing?
No, it's not. It's just it's a fact for me.
Well, see,
you can't function out. You can't get it to come on. Probably it's
a challenge.
It's a challenge. Yes. It's coping with society.
Matter of fact, I probably put my body on hold while I talk to somebody. And I just cut them completely off.
See, we got to learn this in this world we live now. Now things are changing. We got to. I ain't gonna say everything changed, but if you don't change some things, learn how to cope, then you're gonna be so far behind the eight ball. I don't even let people get my debit card number no more. You're just not gonna get that because there's so many people getting hacked. Right, so you have to change. Yeah, in order to protect yourself, right? You have to put these safeguards in place, and it's just so much that we have to look at in society. There was a time back way when you had to worry about accounts getting hacked and all this other stuff. But today, people go through your trash, they go through everything looking for a way to get ahead for free. Mm-hmm. So, and when I think about coping in a society like it is today, even when I look at the politics have changed so much. It's so much. Wow. It has gotten so far out there. And I ain't gonna mention no politician's name because I ain't into that. That ain't right. Don't get me. I have my feelings. Right. My feelings don't need to be on this. Right. Yeah. So I look at what we have to do, what we need to do, not only to survive, but to be able to excel. So what we got to do is we got to, even if you don't want to change, you need to know. We need to be a people that know what's going on. So just can't anything go on? Can't anything get pulled over our eyes? Because today, some of us want to stay so engrossed in the way we were that anything can get pulled over our eyes, and then you wonder how it happened. It's because we don't want to accept the fact that we got to look at some things different.
Well, yeah, you're right. But, once again, like you said, being aware of the changes, right, getting with the changes, it also gives you an opportunity, as they said, to find a new version of you.
Right.
I'm 63.
Woo.
Okay.
Getting up there, ain't
you? You just get here. That's what you do. I'm 63, right? I love being around 63 and older who says, I'm not going to let my age define me.
63 ain't old.
I know. But for some people, it is. They want you to know, I'm 63 and I'm hurting.
Well, you just, I ain't going to go there.
Don't go there. Okay. Thank you. Don't go there. But you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
I think it was last year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna call the business name, but you know what I'm talking about. They had the water aerobics,
Okay.
right? And I got off into it, man.
Did
I
you?
mean, I loved
You
it.
quit, didn't
I don't know what happened.
you? You weren't interested.
No, it got cold.
The three.
The temperature changed.
The
No,
thrill was gone.
No, it's winter came. That's what happened.
So winter changed.
Winter changed all of that. Going out that cold. No, man, winter changed all of that. But man, I'm like, I loved it. And the thing about it was the people that came down there, it was like you was in a private club.
What happened? The weather changed.
The winter came. And I'm talking about what I'm saying is, man, there was folk down there getting stretched and lifting weights, and I'm saying,
So
really?
so the season changed, so they changed.
No, they didn't change. I changed.
You changed.
I didn't go. I wasn't gonna get in that bar and get out in that cold weather.
You couldn't wait till warm up. You take a shower afterwards. Okay, I understand.
You just get here, okay?
I'm not far behind, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes to be able to keep myself healthy, stay in tune with society.
Right. That's dangerous.
Right.
Stay in tune with society.
Right.
Find out what works for you.
Right.
Don't focus so much on what don't work for you.
If it don't work,
that's a lot of energy. Right.
If it don't work for me, I have to push it aside.
Push it aside. That's not for me.
I found this. I'm thankful that I'm one of these what I call progressive people that likes technology and stuff like that. So I'm always thinking about.
Well, I mean, I love
that.
technology.
Yeah, okay.
No. What I'm saying, okay, all right. In professionally speaking,
right.
Okay. I don't need to worry about if I needed something projected behind me.
Well, you still in the PowerPoint. PowerPoint been out the scene so long. You know, people don't use PowerPoint no more. We beyond PowerPoint.
Even in the picture?
Yeah. We beyond that, you know.
Okay. So, all right. So you have to hit me with what's going on.
You can if a person got tablets, you can connect it all of them, and they ain't even got to look
on the telephone.
Yeah.
So I did that with the Westminster Police Department. Matter of fact, it was guy says I can't see the screen, so I just Googled what you said, and I got it on my phone. I said, "Oh, what the heck? Why did I think of that?" Everybody just put this on your phone, right? And we don't have to do PowerPoint, and just follow me on your phone.
PowerPoint and got old.
Well, I didn't know what to call no way.
I understand. You hadn't got there yet.
I hadn't got there, so it don't matter.
But as you know, as we look at things, and I know we kind of been laughing about some of this, but
that's something you have to laugh.
Right. To a point.
What is you gonna do?
Move forward.
Okay, but I'm just saying. You said we laugh, and that's healthy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just saying it's good to release.
Oh, definitely.
You know, that's all I'm saying. Laughter is good. Laughter is like a medicine.
Right.
That doctor said the more you laugh, you build your hormone systems up.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you better cut up. You know.
How do you think I'm still here?
Woo! Let me leave that alone.
Hey man, you just get here. That's what you do.
But you know, as we get ready to close this out, though, it's been a good podcast talking about coping in the world in which we live today. We want everybody to be safe. Don't take unnecessary chances. You know, coping out here, you know, a lot of times we'll say, well, ain't nothing going to happen. Well, there's a lot of good people dead in the grave. They can't come back and tell you, I wish I would have been more cautious. We have to be cautious, not only.
Let me say this, if you don't mind.
Right.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but
you did.
Yeah, I know. But you said something. I see so many women like going to their cars on the telephone.
Right. That's the wrong thing to do.
Not aware of their surroundings.
Exactly.
Not aware of their surroundings. They're on that telephone.
Right.
Ladies, listen. That conversation can wait.
Right. Until
you get in the car.
You need to have your keys in hand.
Right.
You need to be prepared for any situation.
Yeah.
And I'm not against people going to get concealed carry permit.
Well, I'm not against that either.
Because people try to target women. Right. And they need to be able to protect themselves.
I'm in 100% agreement.
And when you look at today, women are the number one people that are taking these classes, these concealed carry permit classes. Right. So these guys out here better be where they might meet up with the wrong thing at the wrong time. So, I know we were talking about coping with society, and we got the good, but we talked about what helps us cope. The reading of books, technology, and all this stuff. But some of the realities is it's a rough thing out there now. It's not like it used to be.
No.
So you got to be prepared for every situation, every circumstance, and if we prepare for that, then if just one person is more a little more be a little bit more safer, like when they go to the store. Why you got to go to the store at midnight? Why you got to park your car in a dark place? Why you got to park so far away from the store? Why you got to go get gas in the middle of the night? Stuff like that. Some things we can avoid, and it's important that we try to do that. Because people prey on you at night. Yeah. You're not as alert at night. You're not.
Man, they preying on you in the daytime too.
Yeah, that is true, but it's worse at night.
Oh, absolutely. That's natural,
So, we just want everybody, and our older men and women, definitely people try to prey on them. So it's just so many things we need to look at to be able to cope in a society in which we live. Don't get so caught up into the politics and politics in the world. It'll drive you crazy.
Oh man,
it's some folks that all they do is watch CNN and trying to see what's on the political scene. Yeah. And that'll cause you to get depressed. So really, sometimes we need to get a break from our phones. We need to get a break from Facebook. We need to get a break from the we need to get a break from like
television,
from the television, these news and all this stuff.
Gossipers.
Yeah. Sometimes you need to push away.
Right.
And if we push away, we'll find that we our mental state will be much better.
Be much better mentally.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're gonna get ready to close this out. We've been here about 48 minutes, and that was a little longer than I intended. But it's been a good topic. Coping in a world in which we live today. Coping in a world like this, coping in society, coping on our jobs, coping and even in our own homes have changed. I remember when we used to all sit down and have dinner together.
Oh, yeah.
Who?
Yeah. Now everybody's bringing their phones to the table.
Right. And they on the phones. You don't have no conversation at dinner or nothing. So things has changed. We got to cope, learn to cope better. Be better. But we're going to get ready to get on out of here. We thank you all for tuning in to our podcast today. Thank you for Brother Mileage coming in, Robert Mileage. He has the Thinking Man podcast, and I guess you'll be coming back on soon.
Yeah.
And we're starting a new season. This is our kickoff for our new season. And we just excited that you tuned in and listened to the whole thing, whether you on the track, whether you driving to work, whether you on the job, whatever you're doing. We're just glad that you are able to listen to this podcast. And we are just asking you to like us so that when we put out a new podcast, they'll come to your phone and you can listen to it. You take care, Brother Miles. You have final words real quick.
Just want to say good evening, good morning, wherever you might be.
We already said good evening, good morning.
You asked me that I have anything to say.
Final word.
Final,
good
those are my final words.
Oh, okay.
I'm signing off.
Oh, okay.
You've been listening to BVS Broadcast Station, Dr. Bruce Smith of the Raw Truth. I'm Robert Miles, Thinking Man Podcast. Be careful, be safe, and we'll holler at you later.
Goodbye. Have a good day. God bless you.